Now, in other news, in a shocking development, the health ministry reporting its first confirmed case of polio in Israel since 1989. And the patient, an unvaccinated 4-year-old boy in Jerusalem. With me to discuss is head of the Immunotherapy lab at Ilan University, Professor Cyrille Cohen. Professor, thank you so much for joining us again. Now, how common is it to avoid the polio vaccination in Israel?
Yes, hello, Aaron. This is very sad. Unfortunately, we know that approximately 2% of the population in Israel is not vaccinated against polio, which is, a vaccine that saves lives, that can prevent terrible things, and that has been known for 60 years, even more, 70 years. So, this is quite astonishing to see such a thing happening today in 2022. And we know, unfortunately, that in Jerusalem, there are pockets of people that are not willing to get their kids vaccinated against polio.
So do you think that there's the risk of a polio outbreak in Israel making a serious resurgence?
Yes, this is something we have to take into account. We know that more or less between 20 to 30 contact people have been mapped to that child. We are monitoring, as you know, the sewage to see, the emergence of the polio virus, because it is a virus that is infecting the digestive tract. So we can follow that also in the sewage. But again, we are kind of concerned, and we have to call people to get vaccinated as soon as possible. This is very important.
So, Professor, I can almost understand the initial resistance to the coronavirus vaccine, but we saw the efficacy of the polio vaccine, as you said, for 6 decades plus. And it's been years since Israel effectively eradicated the disease within its borders. What happened?
Oh, this is very easy to explain. Unfortunately, there is some defiance regarding vaccines. We know that in general, not related to COVID. The second thing is that people forgot what is the meaning of polio. And people do not understand what are the consequences of getting infected with polio. And therefore, people do not appreciate the threat of such a disease. True, in 90% of the cases, people are usually asymptomatic. In 10% of the cases, kids will develop, high fever, etc., but it will pass. But in a certain percentage of the kids, those kids will get a paralysis for life. And this is terrible to see such a thing happening in the 21st century.
So again, how is the government responding to this? Why should we expect any better results from a renewed vaccine campaign, for example? What is or should the government be doing differently in its information campaign?
I think that there is information, but I think that if people understand the threat, and I think that is what is happening right now, this is not only the role of the government, also your role as medias to publicize that thing. I think that when people are aware that this is a tangible threat, people hopefully will make the right choice and get vaccinated. So we have to enter a phase in which we are promoting that vaccine and telling people, listen, this is a question of not only quality of life, but threatening the health being of your children for life. So this is what we have to do right now, publicize that, both on the front, of the Ministry of Health, tracking the people that might have been, contact people, and also in general, publicize that.
All right, Professor Cyrille Cohen, thank you for your insights.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
ILTV Plus, your news from Israel and more 24/7. Start your free trial today. Subscribe at iltv.tv and watch from any device.